The 8-year assault on your Second Amendment freedoms has come to a crashing end. I like taking the guns early. Take the guns first, go through due process second.
Well, I say go fuck yourself. Then ask who question could I kill a man? I would enjoy myself. You can't disguise evil eyes that burn a hole in my head. This devil man and his master plan. We feel so misled, so I say, rise up, take it all back. Rise up, take it all back. Rise up. Hope you all understand. We got to take it all back again.
These people are not going to take it any longer. We will never give up. We will never concede. Our country has had enough. We will not take it anymore. But you have to go home now. We have to have peace. So go home. We love you. You're very special. But go home and go home in peace. The demonstrators who infiltrated the Capitol have defiled the seat of American democracy. You do not represent our country. And to those who broke the law, you will pay.
What's up, everybody? How y'all doing? And welcome to April 1st, April Fool's Day, and Riddle Girl and I's wedding anniversary. So that's cool. Let's see. Let me do the math real quick. We were married in 2008. So that's 13 years. Lucky number 13, huh, Riddle? Ooh. 13 years married. 15, 16 years together. Not bad. Happy anniversary, sweetheart. Happy anniversary to you too, sweetheart. All right. So I got off the phone with Rebel, or War Drums Network. And he keeps changing his mind on where he wants to end up. However, all the same places he's talking about are the same places I'm talking about. One in particular is Tennessee. However, me and Riddle have family and friends in Texas. Texas has a lot of problems, and Reb pointed out a lot of good points on why Texas has some issues. For one, a lot of the stuff that's going on at the border is going on in Texas, right? Texas almost turned blue in the last election cycle, most likely will turn blue the next time. A lot of people from California are going to Arizona, Texas, and Florida. Those 3 states. So those 3 states are not necessarily the best. Now, Texas does not have does not have constitutional carry. Arizona does, and apparently Tennessee did go ahead and now has constitutional carry. I know we had talked about it, that it was up on the dockets, but according to Reb, Tennessee, and maybe if Mr. Tommy Boy 9 is in here, Tennessee should be a constitutional carry state, which is a big, big deal. When I went to Texas on vacation, there was a couple times that I hadn't put my shirt over my firearm or whatever, and sure enough, local, cuz, dude, you got to cover that. Or even some, I think one time it was even pre-dawn. Hey, you gotta cover that. You know how nice it is in Arizona not to have to worry about that? And I do worry about it when I go into a business here, because there's a lot of businesses in Arizona, a lot, at least in the Phoenix area, that say you can't carry your firearm. When we were in Texas, we went into Dallas for just a second. I didn't go into really any shops in the main cities, but the small town shops and stuff like that did have a sign saying that only concealed carry was allowed, which is fine because Texas is a concealed carry state. Okay. My question is if they went constitutional carry, because here in Phoenix area anyway, there's a lot of signs on these businesses, a lot of them, that say you can't come in with a weapon, concealed or otherwise. Like, don't even come in here with a firearm. It's a gun-free zone. Today, we went to a place to celebrate our anniversary where I wasn't supposed to bring a firearm into. Still took one. I take it everywhere I go, whether I'm allowed to or not, whether I have a permit or not. My Second Amendment to keep, to own, and to bear, to have on me, shall not be infringed. It's pretty friggin' simple. And I'll battle whatever I have to battle in any legal case that I have to battle it in if I ever get caught doing something like that. However, moving to a state that has constitutional carry is a huge deal. And I'm not really looking... that is one thing about Texas. If we moved there, I would not look for... Now, I think I've been told that they're looking into constitutional carry. Looking into it. But going to a state that doesn't already have it in place, that's a step back, believe it. What's up, Broken Patriot? How are you doing? Ty Fisher is in here too. That's cool. I heard they're going to stop open carry everywhere. Well, there was, I think it was the 9th Circuit, wasn't it? Saying that you don't have a constitutional right to carry a firearm, which is really weird because to keep, to own, to bear, to have one on yourself, pretty self-explanatory. And I don't care. I would like to go to a constitutional carry state. I really would. If I don't, I'm still going to carry, and I'm still going to carry without having to go through all the shit everybody else goes through. And if I have to use it, I will fight that fight. And I'm not looking forward to fighting that fight, but at the same time, it's the right fight. It's a righteous fight, in my opinion. Let's see. I heard that too. Levels the playing field when you don't know who is armed. Firearm is my ID. LOL. I think more people carry knives than anything. Well, everybody has a pocket knife. I have a fighting knife and a pocket knife. I carry 2 knives. I carry a Spyderco and I carry a karambit. And then I carry a 45. So you guys, Ty and Broken Patriot, are talking about how they're trying to get rid of open carry everywhere. Are you talking about the Ninth Circuit or something else? Because if it's something else, I want a link and I want to talk about that tonight. Cool? All right. Other than that, yes, today is me and Riddle Girl's anniversary. Yes, we did get married on April Fool's Day, 2008, because we were fools in love. That was the reasoning behind that. Today we went out and we bowled. I haven't gone bowling in a long time. And the first few games were not that great. We were both pretty bad. But after a couple games and warming up, boy, I'll tell you what, we got pretty decent. Riddle Girl got over 100 like twice in a row. And the last game I got over 100. I was pretty excited. I got like 3 or 4 strikes. So couldn't believe it. Other than that, we were playing. There was also some games and stuff in there that we would play. And they had a lot of them are all virtual reality now. A lot of the arcades, they had some of the coin pushers and some other arcades like the old school stuff and stuff like that. But a lot of it is now virtual reality. And I'll tell you what, I'm really wanting to get a VR headset. I had one for my phone back when it was the Samsung Note 4. That was the first Oculus Rift headset that came out for your phone, was for the Note 4. And I had it and I loved it and I used it a lot. The games on it weren't really that great, but the experiences were really great. Now, the one that I really want to get for the VR headset is that Beat Saber. We had a chance to play that today, and first of all, it was very short for the amount of money that you had to invest into this game. However, it was a lot of fun, and it would definitely be exercise, which... I'm not going to buy exercise equipment in my house. But if I had a VR headset, I don't know, maybe. That's a lot of money. It's over $800. I could buy a lot more useful stuff for $800 than that. Looking for the link? All right, cool. Thank you. Happy anniversary. Thank you very much. My wife and I got married on February 29th. Groundhog? Oh, so how many years or how many anniversaries have you had? Curiosity. All right, because that's an odd one. And how do you celebrate that on other days? Because I know you ain't getting away with only celebrating that once every 4 years. So do you celebrate it on the 28th or do you celebrate it on the 1st of March? But happy anniversary to you, because you just had one recently. So that's cool. All right. So yeah, moving away from this situation and into another one is still in the works. I definitely want to get out of the city. However, I think we're in the city for the right reasons right now. I think one of the reasons why we haven't gotten an opportunity to go somewhere else is most likely we're supposed to be here because of our neighbor and taking care of them. Other than that, Reb is looking at places with lots of land and talking about splitting it up, like getting 4 people to go in on like 60 acres, splitting the land, and each person gets their own piece. That'd be interesting. First anniversary? You've only been... Really? You guys have only been together for a year? Wow. You just gotten married then when I met you, I think, right? I don't know how long you guys stayed together before you got married, but congratulations on that, for sure. All right, let's get to it. Now, I don't know much about what's going on in Georgia, but I am curious about it. That's why I had the question mark on that. Delta Airlines CEO caves to the woke mob on Georgia's voting law. No idea what the voting law is. The CEO of Georgia's based Delta Airlines said on Wednesday that the state's new election law overhaul is unacceptable and based on a lie, after the company faced criticism that it did not speak out forcefully enough in opposition to the bill when it was being considered by the state's Republican leaders. CEO Ed Bastian offered his assessment of the new Georgia law in a memo sent to employees less than a week after Delta officials joined other corporate lobbyists to shape the final version of the measure that seeks to rein in accountability for the stewardship and control of ballots, which were widely mismanaged in the 2020 election. The memo obtained by the Associated Press comes amid a smattering of calls for consumer boycotts of Delta and other Georgia-based brands. There's a lot of television shows. I know The Walking Dead, at least, was filmed in Georgia. I'm kind of curious about this now. But a lot of consumer boycotts of Delta, other Georgia-based brands, including Coca-Cola, UPS, and Home Depot. The Major League Baseball Players Union has also raised the possibility of moving the Summer All-Star game from the Atlanta Braves home stadium. Wow. They are up in arms over this, if they're talking about that stuff. And yeah, I even have here about the MLB's teams stuff that we're going to get to in a second. Delta Airlines initially issued a statement touting some parts of the law, such as expanded weekend voting, but says we understand concerns remain over other provisions in the legislation, and there continues to be work ahead in this important effort. But Bastian spoke more forcefully in Wednesday's memo to employees. The entire rationale for this bill was based on a lie, that there was widespread DARFing in the Georgia elections in 2020. It's simply not true. Ignoring voluminous evidence that DARFing took place. Unfortunately, that excuse is being used in states across the nation that are attempting to pass similar legislation to restrict voting rights. I don't know. We all know the hypocrisy, right? You need an ID to do so many things in this life. So many things you need an ID for. Voting is not one of them. Why not? If you need an ID to buy a firearm, why don't you need an ID to vote? Genuflecting before the woke mob by Bastian repeated that Delta joined other major Atlanta corporations to work closely with elected officials from both parties to try and remove some of the most egregious measures from the bill. We had some success in eliminating the most suppressive tactics that some had proposed. But he emphasized, I need to make it crystal clear that the final bill is unacceptable and does not match Delta's values. The new law. Here we go. The new law signed last week by Republican Governor Brian Kemp hours after it cleared the state legislature. It is part of tide of GOP-sponsored election bills introduced in states across the country after widespread DARFing in battle states. And is it proven? Remember, we had a story that said that it could be proven, right? So maybe it is, maybe it's not. The Georgia law adds a photo ID requirement. 100% okay for that. For voting absentee by mail. Okay. The Georgia law adds a photo ID requirement for voting absentee by mail. I don't know how that works. How do you show your ID if you need to do it absentee by mail? I'm curious. Cuts the amount of time people have to request an absentee ballot and limits where drop boxes can be placed and when they can be accessed. Remember the ballot harvesting? I don't know how that's even legal. That should be gone. 100% ballot harvesting should be illegal. As far as where the drop boxes are, I don't know, have it the same way you have people watching poll workers count votes. Have one from each side, pick it up, they both in the same vehicle without talking to each other, most likely in today's environment, go and drop it off. Why can't we do that? It also bans people from handing out food or water to voters waiting in line and allows the Republican-controlled state election board to remove and replace county election officials while curtailing the power of the Secretary of State as Georgia's chief elections officer. Let's read that again. You've been married 5 years, but you've had one wedding anniversary because of okay, I got you. It also bans people from handing out food or water to voters waiting in line. I don't give a crap one way or the other. They were doing that at our local polls. It didn't really, obviously, you know who's doing it, but a lot of people that aren't super into this stuff, they would probably like have no idea. As long as they're not campaigning for one party or the other, I don't care if they hand out food and water. By all means. In Arizona, you know, well, not in November, but it might be warm. Here's the thing. Waiting in line. And allows the Republican-controlled state election board to remove and replace county election officials while curtailing the power of the Secretary of State as Georgia's chief elections officer. Now, that one I'm a little confused with. Who knows? Republicans in Georgia insist the changes are needed to restore voter confidence. Civil rights and voting rights groups have filed multiple federal lawsuits challenging the Georgia's law. Activists also have turned their attention to congressional Democrats pushing for sweeping federal action on voting rights. And we got to have federalized voting rights, right? Democrats' measure in Washington could effectively override many of the changes being enacted in Georgia and considered in dozens of other state legislators led by Republicans. Okay. All right. We don't celebrate it. We're going to... Holy shit. Do you celebrate the day you guys got together and wedding anniversary? Me and Riddle Girl, no, we don't really celebrate the day we got together. Do we even remember the day we got together, Riddle? I don't think we do. And the way we got together, I mean, we weren't technically dating when we were together. But we were then dating the day after because, you know, we were still together. We don't celebrate it. We were going to, but my health problems stopped it. Okay, we've been married 5 years. Hello, what's up, Armed Archangel? Will not interact, but will listen in tonight. Okay, cool. Well, I'm glad you're here, Armed Archangel, whether you can chat or not. Appreciate it. I did a computer mod today. Cut a 3-inch hole in the side for an exhaust fan. There's Broken Patriot adding more fans. Dude, at some point you got enough fans. So Broken Patriot likes to add fans to his computer. I don't know exactly what kind of computer he has. He'd gotten it, I think it was like $150. It's a nice computer. It's not bad, right? But it runs a little warm, or did run a little bit warm. And Broken Patriot, man, I don't know how many fans you're up to now, but you got more fans than I got. I can guarantee you that. But congratulations on more fans. For those who don't know, Broken Patriot has an obsession with airflow. Yes, he does. His mission to get a turbojet engine type fan into his PC one day. Yep, pretty much. But that's okay, man. I remember a computer that Riddle Girl had before we were together. Sounded like a jet engine taking off. I remember that thing. It had like 4 fans on it, and every time it would turn on, go... And that was the noise the whole time. Luckily, this one does not do that. Very quiet. Biden against MLB team's plan for full capacity wants to punish Georgia over the election law. President Joe Biden told ESPN on Wednesday that it was a mistake for the Texan Rangers to allow full capacity at their ballpark for their first game. Speaking on the eve of opening day, Biden also said he supports decisions between Major League Baseball and the Players Union on moving the All-Star game from Atlanta in response to the leftist propaganda about legislation adopted in Georgia that restricts voting rights when in fact the new law institutes greater election integrity. See, this one actually disagrees a little bit with the last one. Fans are set to return to Major League stadiums on Thursday after they were kept out during the regular season last year because of the sniffle pandemic. Capacity will be limited to about 12% in Boston and Washington. 12 teams are at 20%, Colorado at 43%, and Houston at 50%. The only team higher is Texas at 100%, The Rangers Globe Life Field can seat 40,300 people. Well, that's a decision they made. I think it's a mistake, Biden told ESPN. They should listen to Dr. Fauci, the scientist, and the experts, but I think it's not responsible. Major League Baseball is encouraging everyone involved with the sport to get shots against the sniffles as soon as possible. All 3-page memorandum from MLB and the Players Association sent to players and staff on Monday says some restrictions will be eliminated when 85% of the major league players and primary field staff are shotted against the sniffles. But Major League Baseball isn't requiring the shot for players or staff. Asked how he would advise players who felt hesitant about getting the sniffle shot, Biden said, I would say, I'm president of the United States and I got the shot. I don't have an unimportant job. Would I take the shot if I thought it was going to hurt me? I think you take something that looked like the shot. We have done incredible research on the shot. Oh, have you, Biden? Have you, Biden, done incredible research on this shot that your I can't even think of it. your organization, your cabinet had made, all right? Anyway, and they've shown that they work. Have they? That's the other thing. The shot has shown that it works. We have done incredible research on the shot, and they have shown that they work. But don't forget, if you get the shot, you still have to social distance. You still have to wear your face diaper, and you still have to be careful because there's different strains out there. So the one shot that you got supposedly has shown that it will work against something. What exactly? I'm not sure. We have to get to the point where enough people have taken the shot so that we diminish the possibility for it to spread. The Nationals announced Wednesday that they have had a player test positive for the sniffle 19, and 4 teammates and the staff member have been in quarantine after contact tracing. They are scheduled to host the Mets on Thursday night. Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred and Union head Tony Clark are also discussing the possibility of moving the All-Star game because of the legislation adopted in Georgia. Manfred said Wednesday he is talking to various constituencies within the game about the issue. Georgia's new law adds a photo ID requirement for voting absentee by mail, cuts the amount of time people have to request an absentee ballot, and limits where the drop boxes can be placed and when they can be accessed, which we knew about that. Clark has said he would look forward to discussions around moving the Midsummer Classic out of Tourist Park, and Biden said he would strongly support such a decision. Yeah, obviously we should punish the states that don't do what we want them to do. You know, because you have to have an ID for every damn thing else you do in life. Can't even cash a check without your ID. How do you have a job and get money if you don't have an ID to show your bank to prove that it's you? When I go to my bank, job or no job, when I go to my bank to deposit or withdraw money, I have to give them my bank card and then my ID, whether I'm putting money in or taking money out. But we don't need one for voting. People look to them, Biden said, referencing professional athletes. They're leaders. They're millionaires playing a game. Look at what happened with the NBA as well. Look what's happening across the board. The very people who are victimized the most are the people who are the leaders in these various sports. Because they're black? Is that what you're saying, Biden? The very people who are victimized the most are the people who are the leaders in these various sports? That sounds like it's because they're black. And it's just not right. Because, you know, you shouldn't do that. Yeah. This is Jim Crow on steroids. That's what they're doing in Georgia and 40 other states. So they're saying that by requiring you to have ID to vote, that is Jim Crow on steroids. Wow. Fuck you, Biden. I didn't run warm, not now. And only 2 fans, one on a heat sink and one exhaust. It did run warm. Yeah, I know it did. Not now, and only 2 fans. So you have 2 fans currently, or you had 2 fans? Because as far as I remember, it already had 2 fans when I saw it the first time. Yes, you want airflow. You can't even buy spray paint without an IED. Exactly. Wow. Now, Stacey Abrams, though, is discouraging leftists from boycotting Georgia. Failed gubernatorial candidate Stacey Abrams, who, with the help from dark money, is that racist? That might be, has reinvented herself as an influential activist in the anti-election integrity movement, responded to calls for national boycotts of Georgia by saying they were not necessary, at least not yet. In response to the disastrous administration of recent elections, which thrust the state uncomfortably into the national spotlight, Georgia's GOP-led legislature moved quickly to patch up its flawed policies during an outrage from many on the left. Drawing outrage from many on the left. Several major corporations have denounced the new election integrity law, which Democrats have claimed restricts voting rights. But many activists argue these companies, such as Delta, Coca-Cola, didn't condemn the last fast enough. Here's the thing. Delta, that's a plane company. They want you to also have passports that say you've gotten the shot or not. I'm already not wanting to fly. Okay, I already didn't want to fly because I don't want to get X-rayed. I don't. In order to fly. And then I'm going to have to wear a mask? Screw that. That's 2 strikes. Guess what? 3rd strike? Right there. I don't need to fly. I would rather drive. You see a lot better stuff driving anyway. And Coca-Cola? Boy, am I glad I'm not addicted to soda anymore. That's something I don't have to drink. Boycott Delta, hashtag boycott Delta, was one of the top trending hashtags on Twitter over the weekend, and boycott Coca-Cola had been used in more than 34,000 tweets. I'm down for it. Let's boycott Coca-Cola. Other activist groups have called for major sporting events to be moved from Georgia, and Hollywood actors and directors have demanded that the entertainment industry leave the state. And as I was talking about earlier, we know of a few shows that are filmed there. President Joe Biden even said this week he would support the move of the baseball game, or the All-Star game, yeah. Abrams, however, discouraged leftists from punishing Georgia's economy. As a black person and a southerner in America, I respect and defend the right to boycott, and advancement of civil rights has relied heavily on economic boycotts, Abrams wrote. Until we hear clear, unequivocal statements that show Georgia-based companies get what's at stake, I can't argue with an individual's choice to opt out of their competition, or for their competition, she added. But one lesson of boycotts is that the plan of deprivation must be shared to be substantial, Abrams continued, or sustainable. Arguing that black Americans and other minorities will bear the brunt of these actions. If we boycott Coca-Cola, African Americans are going to bear the brunt of it? I have no doubt that voters of color, particularly black voters, are willing to endure the hardship of boycott, she said, but I don't think it's necessary yet. Abrams was credited with pursuing Georgia State Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger into settling a lawsuit that considerably loosened the standards for ballot verification during the November 3rd and the January 5th elections that Democrats allegedly dominated. I like it that they put in allegedly. That's great. The new Georgia project, which Abrams helped found, has been accused, meanwhile, of an array of ethical and legal violations, including soliciting votes from dead people, non-residents, and others who are ineligible to vote in the state. You know, I'd be okay with getting rid of all voter ID laws as long as you have to dip your finger into ink that stays there for more than 24 hours and you have to vote in person. No more of this absentee crap. You can vote wherever you want. I don't even care where you, well, as far as the, you know, president of the United States or main government stuff. Just dip your finger in that. That's how a lot of people do it. Let's see. LOL, steroids and athlete leaders. Yeah. That is kind of a funny thing. It only has one from factory, a heat-seek fan. Okay. Yeah, I have more than that. Well, I have a water cool on my CPU, and then I have two big fans, 3 for the radiator and 1 in the back. Okay, maybe I have more fans than you. Let's see. What's up, Tony? How you doing? How's life treating you over there in the Ozarks? Lindell, boy, we're going to have to be careful with this one. Algorithm shows the census data used to calculate DARF votes needed in the 2020. This is a crime against every one of us, every person on the planet. DARFers hacking last year's presidential... Hackers are horrible. You should definitely protect yourself with VPNs. Get a good antivirus software with your computer, Broken Patriot. Make sure you always use your VPN. You do not want hackers because they can put viruses on your computer, and that's really bad. Anyway, getting on to this story. DARFers doing something with last year's thing that happened in November may have used data from the 2010 census to estimate the number of extra votes they needed, according to the algorithmic expert who analyzed data in several states. Yeah, that is strange because Trump got more votes in 2020 than he did in 2016. And I believe President Joe Biden got more votes than Obama did in his first ever election. And you remember how important Obama's first election was, right? How many people do you know that voted for Obama just for the fact that he was not white? He was going to be our first African American president. People were excited. They couldn't wait to vote for him. More people voted for Biden than voted for Obama in his first term? Wow. Dr. Douglas G. Frank teamed up with MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell in the newly released expose Scientific Proof. You can actually watch this on YouTube? No. Hold on. No. It's 55 minutes. We can't play it. I am going to copy this link. I'm going to paste it and put it into chat. If you guys want to bookmark that and check that out later, be my guest. No, the video embedded above is available at lindelltv.com if blocked or removed by YouTube. Okay, cool. So if you can't, it's still there. It's still there. Frank said those who sought to manipulate the thing that happened in November inadvertently left a trail of breadcrumbs behind. But it was only by sheer luck that he happened to uncover it. Strange bedfellows. Mystery acquaintance, a man with strange bedfellows. William Shakespeare's famous line from The Tempest refers to an unlikely alliance brought forth out of necessity. Yet never did it ring so true as the 2020 election, which found Lindell, a successful pillow inventor and entrepreneur, teaming up with Frank, a former atomic physicist, to expose the algorithms that DARFed an ex-Manhattan hotel mogul of millions of presidential votes. It was like a divine appointment here, said Lindell, a devout Christian and outspoken ally of President Trump, about his chance discovery of Frank. In February, Lindell self-produced another election video, Absolute Proof, which revealed that many of the voting machines used last year in last year's presidential contest not only were connected to the internet, but were subject to massive cyber attacks. He and Frank were subsequently united by a former Republican candidate in a district just outside of Philadelphia who had been investigating the suspicious circumstances of her loss. She basically went door to door and she did her own investigation, Lindell said. After realizing that something seemed amiss, the Pennsylvania candidate solicited help from Frank, who had left the scientific community to become a math teacher at a gifted school in Ohio. Meanwhile, Lindell continued to speak out in media appearances, resulting in an onslaught of cancel culture attacks to censor him, as well as a $1.3 billion defamation lawsuit brought by Dominion Voting Systems to intimidate him into silence. Well, I hope it didn't intimidate him into silence, and I hope that they go forward, and I hope that this actually goes to court, because it's going to be must-see TV. That left him with no choice but to push forward in his efforts to continue to expose the truth behind the DARFing, or else face personal and financial ruination for himself and his thousands of employees. It's easy to be brave when there's only one option, he said. That is true. Frank said he happened to be using the 2010 census data in a recent classroom lesson which helped him make a serendipitous discovery about the actual election results. Just by a quirk, I'd been teaching my advanced math students how to do differential calculus on census data, he said. He noticed a few anomalies in population dips and spikes in the census that, when adjusted for certain factors, aligned perfectly with the voter data that he had also been examining. This was the clue that told me that they were using population to control resignations? No. And I never even would have thought that, but I was teaching my kids, he said. Those programming the vote DARFing computer functions rely on a 6-order polynomial equation to create a sort of algorithmic key that would calculate the number of not 100% honest ballots requests needed in a particular location, while theoretically preventing them from exceeding the number of eligible voters. Ooh. So they know how many eligible voters, they know how many they need, and then they can change it up, I guess. I just need 6 numbers, and I can predict every county in Ohio, Frank said. Although the patterns wound up being uniform throughout a given state, he noted that they were slightly different in each state. That made it more difficult to detect a pattern when examining all the national data in aggregate, but it helped Frank to confirm his theory by revealing consistent statewide patterns that applied to every race, including down-ballot local contests. Around 14 counties took the average key and then never changed it again, and it works in all 88, Frank said of his analysis in his home state of Ohio. Frank analysis follows earlier data analysis by experts that have proven the presence of algorithmic manipulation and showed the formula used to flip votes from then President Trump to Democratic Joe Biden proportionately based on how conservative a given county was. In some cases, however, simply flipping the votes may have been too impractical. Thus, election meddlers also use publicly available voter registration databases to register, request ballots, and vote on behalf of eligible but inactive voters. If you don't clean up the registration rolls, then over the years you can build up a nice credit line of phantom voters, Frank said. To confirm his suspicions, Frank said that after using his model to predict a 30% phantom voter rate in a locality, he went out knocking on doors. What he found, in fact, was a 32% rate where the person who requested the ballot and later used it to vote was no longer physically present at the address. So they requested a ballot, but they don't live there. 32%. After decoding the pattern, Frank was able to predict voting outcomes in many cases with a certainty approaching 100%. He found a nearly identical correlation between requested ballots and actual voter participation, with both appearing to be modeled after the decade-old population data. That alone would seem scientifically improbable, suggesting that everyone who had requested a ballot also participated in the election, despite evidence that there were many discarded and undeliverable ballots in some states. For me to get 1.00, and I'm a physicist, that ain't natural, buddy, Frank said of the correlation coefficient showing an exact match between the two variables in many counties. Frank also noted that in the few cases, due to the use of outdated data, the voting manipulators have overestimated the population, leading to the numbers of registered voters that in some cases exceeded the total population by up to 150%. We understood that too. You remember when there was more people that voted than were even in that area? More than 10 weeks into the Biden administration, with the country already in shambles, the breakthrough may seem anticlimactic, perhaps even pointless, to the dismay of Trump supporters. Yeah, you're not getting Biden out now. It doesn't matter what they come out with. Trump is not going to be your president. Biden is the president. However, Lindell, he said he saw the delay discovery as a stroke of luck. I feel it's a blessing that it took till now to get all this ready, he said, indicating that if the outcome had resulted in a Trump victory, the manipulation plot might not have been exposed. We would have never known about the algorithms. Like many conservatives under the Biden administration, Lindell already has faced more than his share of adversity, but he said he foresaw a happy ending to the surreal scenario. Okay. It's like living inside of a movie, he said. We're in a bad part of the movie. I'm so happy because we have it all. Yet being armed with the knowledge of what likely happened on November 3rd remains just a small part of delivering the truth to the American public. The greater challenge lies in confronting DARFing deniers with the evidence and gaining widespread public acceptance amid unprecedented media gaslighting. Good freaking luck. Good freaking luck. You think you're going to be allowed to go forward and even attempt to get people woke to this? First of all, most people don't want to, right? They're happy with whatever happened. Even the people on Trump's side, even Trump supporters are like, you know what? We lost. Okay, I'm done. All they're going to do, you have people with their head literally buried in, well, not literally, figuratively with their heads buried in the sand. They don't want to know what's going on. They know something's going on. They know it's awful convenient that the sniffles has all of a sudden gotten a lot better since Trump lost. They know most likely something kind of shady happened in November. I mean, if nothing else, those suitcases being pulled out from under the tables and them covering up the windows. A lot of people saw that. A lot of people saw that. And you know what? They still have their head buried in the sand because it's easier. Because they don't want to. America is the land of the free, the home of the brave, and we are so happy to live here in the free. I just want to watch my sports, and I want my kids to go to a nice school, and they got their life planned out. They've seen what they want, and that's what they're going for. Screw being real. Screw actually anything that actually matters in real life. People who don't like it when you point out the BHO was our first half Hewitt POTUS. BHO, Barack Hussein Obama. People don't like it when you point out he was our first half POTUS. True. I'm expecting Harris to be president and Clinton to be your VP. Oh my goodness. Can you imagine that? They'll wait till it's 2 years and 1 day into JB's term before they get rid of him. That way, those last 2 years won't count against her 2 terms. Now, see, Scrappy, that's something I haven't really thought about. Yeah, that's never happened, right? I mean, I know there was one president who died like shortly after he won office, like over 100 years ago. But that would be interesting. I'm kind of curious on that. I haven't looked into that, Scrappy. That's a very good point. Lindell called on viewers to do their part in getting the word out. This is a crime against every one of us, every person on the planet, he said. If he and Frank said freedom-loving voters in some counties could even access the voter registration data and conduct their own door-knocking campaigns to root out the phantom voters. For his part, Lindell is preparing to launch a new social media platform appropriately named Frank, and he says he plans to unveil a barrage of additional evidence in the weeks to come. We're going to dump so much evidence, it's going to make WikiLeaks look like Tinker Toy, he said. Nice. His own lawsuit against Dominion could also be a significant factor in laying down the foundation for cases involving vote darfing and freedom of speech. Go out and buy yourselves a MyPillow. If you don't already have a MyPillow, save up for it. They're not that expensive. This guy needs some support for real. I mean, good luck. I don't know if he's going to be able to pull it off. I really don't, but I'm rooting for him. Lindell said Harvard law professor emeritus Alan Dershowitz was advertising his legal team. The lawsuit is going to be the most important lawsuit for the First Amendment in history, he said, citing comments by Dershowitz. In order to win its defamation case, the burden of proof would be on Dominion to show that the allegations made against it by Lindell and others were false and were made with malicious intent. A failure to do so might offer further validation for the Trump effort. Already, Trump and his supporters have won roughly 2/3 of the election cases that were decided on merit. Nonetheless, many courts, including the U.S. Supreme Court, refuse to adjudicate them, instead citing procedural technicalities as grounds for dismissal. But judges in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Virginia recently dealt victories by determining that the Democrats violated the law in implementing last-minute changes to election procedures without legislative approval. That was something that was bothering me for a long time as well. And in 2 other key battleground states, Arizona and Georgia, courts signaled that they would force audits of the ballots and voting machines in 2 of the most populous Democratic-heavy counties, Maricopa and Fulton, respectively. You'll look back in history when what we were a part of, the greatest awakening, the greatest reset ever, Lindell said. I don't know. Jupiter 5, they aren't wise enough to understand the complete insanity of our situation and the captivity by the evil ones. Wink. Probably an investor. They brought the Dominion for $14.99 and are waiting for the Harris Clinton team to make an offer. What's up, everybody? I don't know, man. Anyway, there's a video on it. I did post this in the chat. If you need the link for this video, it's 55 minutes, 39 seconds. It is on YouTube currently with 66 subscribers. Let me know. And you can also go to his website, Mike Lindell, something or another. Okay. Virginia Supreme Court okays Seville's 4-year attempt to remove monuments. Capping off a legal battle that caught the attention of the world following the 2017 riot, Virginia's highest court ruled Thursday that the city of Charlottesville can take down a pair of century-old Confederate monuments. The more than 4-year-long political dispute over the bronze statues of General Robert E. Lee and Thomas J. Stonewall Jackson took roughly as long to resolve as the Civil War itself. The radical leftist city's efforts to remove them, initially deemed a violation of state law, led to the violent clashes between the right-wing and the left-wing extremists, in which one activist standing in a crowd of people was run down by a 20-year-old protester who was trying to escape the melee. Despite being covered with tarps, the statues withstood the initial removal efforts, as well as the 2017 riot and subsequent cancel culture push last year that failed over memorials to the rebellious Southern leaders. But on Thursday, the state Supreme Court overturned a prior circuit court decision which had been preventing the removal under a 1997 law that offered protections for historic monuments. The circuit court erred in failing to interpret the statute according to its plain language, meaning the state Supreme Court Justice Bernard Goodwin wrote. Okay. Critics claim that the statues were archaic and were offensive to black descendants of slavery, a leading cause of Southern secession, which the two Virginia-born generals fought on behalf of. Lee, a prominent Virginia family, was himself a slaveholder. Jackson died during the war, while Lee, after overseeing the surrender of the Confederacy, eventually saw his American citizenship restored and became a university president. Throughout the South, many monuments were resurrected by the Daughters of the Confederacy and other groups in the early 20th century during a time of national reconciliation between the Civil War rivals that also saw renewed racial tension. In 1918, Charlottesville had accepted this is just history stuff now. We're getting into history. They're tearing them down. It's kind of sad. In a way. I don't know. They're a statue. Here's my issue with it. Obviously, I do not like slavery. But if you think the Civil War was fought because of slavery or to free slaves, it was not fought to free slaves. I would say that the debate became, you should definitely look into it if you haven't, but the whole reason why the Civil War started was because every time a new state came into the Union, they had to vote whether it was going to be a slave state or a not slave state, right? Texas came in, and of course the South was wanting it to be a slave state. Texas, I think, wanted to be a slave state. I could be wrong on that. And of course the North didn't want that. And it basically got to the point where they were, I probably shouldn't talk about all that, but it did not start over slavery. It did not start over slavery. Eventually, President Lincoln decided, yeah, we're going to free the slaves. And that's just my interpretation of it. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments below, or if you're here live, do it now. What's up, Guns Coast to Coast? It's a world run amok. Amok. So the Democrats want to get rid of monuments to Democrats. I know, right? That's crazy. That is crazy. These are all Democrats. I suppose it helps them because people like you remember that those are Democrats. People like you remember that the southern states were mostly Democrats and the northerners were all Republicans. Abraham Lincoln was a Republican. That's why they keep saying, no. We're the Republicans are the racist party. You know this, right? Everybody who's a Republican is racist. And they're the party of Jim Crow. It's us Democrats who want to not be Jim Crow. So they say they switched in the 60s, apparently. In the 60s, apparently, after the civil rights or before the civil rights. Yeah, before the civil rights, right? They all switched. And it was the Republicans' fault. I'm pretty sure. Maybe. Probably not. I don't know. Democrats want to cancel everything. Lincoln only freed the slaves in the southern states. It was not about slavery. Yeah. I don't know enough. I know enough to be dangerous. I don't know enough to talk about it in depth. But I would definitely encourage a lot of people to go look up that and look on both sides. Unfortunately, though, it's really hard to find good articles on both sides. and the reasonings behind that, because they are trying to erase it, because history is written by the victor. And that's why every war that we've ever won, we're the good guys, right? If the South had won, I don't know if I doubt we'd still have slavery. Maybe we would, maybe we wouldn't. But if the South had won, you wouldn't hear from the South. It'd be different. History is written by the victor. Let me just leave it at that. All right, 9 crazy examples of wasteful spending in Biden's $2 trillion infrastructure proposal. Foundation for Economic Education, the Biden administration on Wednesday released a comprehensive $2+ trillion spending proposal, ostensibly focused on infrastructure, but there is much more to this plan that meets the eye. At glance at the proposal reveals many items that appear only tenuously related to infrastructure. In fact, several don't appear to be related to infrastructure at all. More pork. Here are 9 of the most suspect items in Biden's infrastructure proposal, taken directly from a fact sheet on the plan the White House has released. $10 billion to create a civilian climate corps. The Biden administration proposes spending $10 billion to create a civilian climate corps. The White House claims that a $10 billion investment will put a new, diverse generation of Americans to work conserving our public lands and waters, bolstering community resilience, and advancing environmental justice through a new civilian climate corps. $20 billion to advance racial equality and environmental justice. $175 billion in subsidies for electric vehicles. We knew that was coming. $213 billion to build slash retrofit 2 million houses and buildings. $100 billion for building new public schools and making school lunches greener. Greener school lunches. Okay, yeah, kids are going to love that. $12 billion for community colleges, billions to eliminate racial and gender inequalities in STEM. This proposal includes several $billion allocated to reduce supposed racial and gender inequalities in science, technology, engineering, and math, research and development. Ah, I see. We need to lower the bar. Too many white people are getting through because, they had parents and they had white privilege and they were allowed to do better in school. All right, so we gotta lower that bar so these other people can get in there too. All right, cool. Maybe I should go back to school then. I might do better. $100 billion to expand broadband internet and government control of it. Yeah, gotta love that. What was it? Free the net, net neutrality. Bunch of bullshit. Loosely lumped over a broad term digital infrastructure, the plan allocates $100 billion to bringing affordable, reliable, high-speed broadband to every American. Interestingly, the proposal openly states that it wishes to promote government and NGO control of broadband and push out private sector's providers. It prioritizes support for broadband networks owned, operated by, or affiliated with local governments, nonprofits, and cooperative providers with less pressure to turn profits. That's what we need. $25 billion for government childcare programs, and just scratching the surface, the above list totals hundreds of billions in waste and unrelated partisan spending slipped into the Biden administration expensive infrastructure plan, but it should be stressed that this list is far from exhaustive. It is what one reporter was able to find in a few hours of research. Yada, yada. Retrofit. Thank you very much, Broken Patriot. Could not freaking say it. I expect subterranean lizard people to come above ground any day and eat us all. A people who don't know their past can't achieve their future. The people who don't know their past can't see the evil behind or ahead. Cicadas are on the way. Oh, frickin' cicadas. I hate cicadas. In the Phoenix area, cicadas aren't too big. They're very noisy, but they're not too big. They're about maybe this big. When I lived in northern Arizona, they're about this big. I don't know. Are they all over the United States? I'm not a fan of cicadas. I thought they always have to look like us, except they have sideway eyelids. Okay. Remember, shoot lizards in the lizard part of the brain, just above the beginning of the spinal cord. Only way to be sure, man. Neil Armstrong is alien backwards. Coincidence? Think not. Dude, where were you when we have conspiracy theory night? So we had a night, and I kind of want to do this again because I've had a few other aha genius moments. Conspiracy theory night. It's where you come up with a conspiracy theory, not one that's already been around. Not we haven't landed on the moon. No. Cicadas are alien people, and Neil Armstrong is one of them because his name is Alien backwards. I think it's fun. Although it does open the door for people to like, see, they're all a bunch of crazies. The High Court weighs compensation for college athletes. So the Supreme Court on Wednesday seemed ready to give college athletes a win in a dispute with the NCAA over rules limiting their education-related compensation. With the March Madness basketball tournament in its final stages, the High Court heard arguments in the case on how colleges can reward athletes who play Division I basketball and football. Here's the thing, my opinion on this, just my opinion. I don't think they should get paid. They're getting free college. I want free college. Free college is a lot of money. Yeah, they could probably get more if they went straight into the NBA, but only some of them can do that. There's a lot of other players on those teams that wouldn't make that kind of money and probably will never go pro, right? But they still get free college. Are they going to pay some players more than others? You know? And what's that going to do to their college? If I was a school and all of a sudden I've got to pay these players to play this game, I want to reduce the amount of scholarships that I give you. No longer are you going to be, full ride. Most likely there'll be other schools that'll still do a full ride and my school would lose out, but it is what it is. North defeated the South to hide the Stargate located below Atlanta's CNN building. Nice. Guns Coast to Coast would win on Conspiracy Theory Night. Absolutely. All right, let's get through this real quick, though, because we're running a little bit late. World Trade Body Chief says the shot inequality is unacceptable. The head of the World Trade Organization called Thursday for expanded capability in developing countries to manufacture the shots, saying the gapping imbalance in access to the sniffle shot mostly favors the rich, developed countries was unacceptable. She says that she supports the creation of a framework that would give developing countries the same automatic and access to manufacture shots with technology transfer during future pandemics, decrying the shot inequality of the current one. Yeah, because we live in a more developed nation, that's wrong. The idea is that 70% of the shots today have been administered by only 10 countries is really not acceptable. I'm not even going to try that name. She told reporters that hosting the French economy minister Bruno Le Maire at the WTO Geneva headquarters. Scores of the trade body's members nations have backed efforts led by South Africa and India to get the WTO to grant a temporary waiver of its intellectual property pact to help boost the Sniffle 19 shot production at the time of insignificant supplies. Some wealthier countries and those with strong pharmaceutical industries oppose the idea, saying that it would crimp future innovation. France's Le Maire addressed thorny efforts to reform the WTO amid tensions over trade, including the U.S.-China trade war during the Trump administration and long-running dispute between the United States and the European Union over subsidies for aircraft manufacturers, Airbus and Boeing. We do not want to see a return to the commercial tensions between the United States and China or between the United States and the European Union, Le Maire said. We are convinced that the WTO has a major role to play. He said France supported concrete reform to help improvise dispute resolution and ease trade tension. Lemery advocated clear and respected trade rules, notably on intellectual property, state aid, and reciprocity agreements between countries. The United States, over successful administrations, have held up appointments with the WTO's appeal court, which helps adjudicate trade disputes across the world. The U.S. attributed the action in part to concerns about unfair practices by China, including alleged intellectual property theft and aid to state-run or state-influenced enterprises. Stinger, the Discord. Oh, and the EU is stopping international shipments of shots because they are not getting enough shotting of their own people. Well, I know a few people in the EU, and they're all lining up to get theirs. I got an appointment coming up. I'm gonna go get it real soon. I'm like, oh well. You can't teach everybody. You can't convince everybody. A lot of people, they've been, especially in England, they had been locked down. Like, they couldn't go outside their house for a long time. They were ready. They're like, give me the damn shot. I want to get out of here. I want to go do something else, right? Because they got it seriously locked down. Thank you, Guns, for letting everybody know that there is a like button. And if you want to hit it, that'd be awesome. If you want to hit the dislike button, though, too, that's all right. It shows a little bit of, what do you call it, Riddle? Interactivity? Stefan Gleason, Money Metals News Service. Longtime gold bashers are gloating over the precious metals' recent price slump. Gold prices have declined more than 10% in the first quarter of 2021, but the perma bears shouldn't feel vindicated. After all, anyone who heeded their advice missed out on gold's record run in 2020 and on many years of outperformed since 2001. While gold bugs are often accused of having an unhealthy obsession with the metal, the anti-gold bugs reveal a deep-seated bias that can only be explained as irrational or dishonest. It's no mystery why many who work in the financial industry hate gold. They are in the business of pushing paper assets, and physical precious metal held outside of a bank and brokerage accounts generates no fees for them. Financial professionals court various rationalizations for why gold is a bad investment. They can certainly point to periods when stocks and bonds had outperformed. Of course, no one particular assets class can be counted on to generate strong returns every single year. The whole point of diversification into alternate asset classes, including precious metals, is to mitigate the risk of in an all-paper portfolio. These include inflation risk, interest rate risk, credit risk, counterparty risk, and even political risk. It's not just the opinion of bullion dealers that precious metals play a valuable role in investment asset allocation. It is the opinion of the respected firm Ibbotson Associates, now part of an investment analytic giant Morningstar. They found that investors who put 7.1% to 15.7% of their portfolios into precious metals enjoy superior risk adjustment returns. Gold shows virtually no correlation to stocks and bonds, meaning it can rise when paper assets fall. Yet the average investor has nowhere near the bare minimum suggested by them to hedge against risk in financial assets. Gold and silver. I would suggest, if you're not into it, look into it, but don't go too big. You don't want to, like, I'm going to put it all into silver, just put it all on black. And that's the problem, right? A lot of people are kind of like that. I was kind of like that. And I'm still in to this day a little bit, but I fight myself. And I know that I'm like that, so I try to mitigate it. Right? I don't put all my money into gold and silver. Why? Because there's a lot of other investments that I need to make with my money than just metal that looks shiny and just sits there. Sure, I love showing off a coin here and there on Fridays, and I do got to set that up for tomorrow. So tomorrow we'll share a coin. I don't have any new ones because it's been busy, but I got a little bit of gold. I got a little bit of silver. It's not hard to get into. If you're in the Phoenix Valley area, Broken Patriot, I can definitely point you in the right direction to get really good deals where you don't have to worry about, am I going to get screwed or not? Because that's the other part, right? Finding a person that you can trust and deal with on a regular basis. That's a lot of it too. And I'm lucky enough to have found that. And now I'll probably move out of state and I'll have to do it all over again. Anyway, those are all the stories that we have for you tonight. Now, in the descriptions down below, there are links, one of them being to causes I believe in and support. We have projectrecover.org. It's an organization that goes out and looks for lost service members and returns their remains to their families. It's a great organization that's been around for a very long time. If you're looking for an organization to donate your money to, you can't go wrong with that one. Another one is Irish USMC Vets, Rally Point Irish, where he's trying to start up a location in Tennessee where veterans can stay room and board free while learning a new life skill like farming, blacksmithing, gunsmithing, 3D printing, and I don't know what else. Whole bunch of stuff. We also have the GOA. If you're not a member of the Gun Owners of America, please consider doing so. I never joined the NRA. I always thought about it. I never got around to it. A lot of people are like, why aren't you a member of the NRA? I'm like, I don't know. I just don't love it, right? Charlton Heston's no longer a part of it, and they're also the reason why we have background checks, and I'm not really a fan of that. I'm not a felon, so I can pass one, no problem, but it's still an infringement, so I don't really like that. But yeah, sure enough, I have a lot of friends who are like, why? You should be part of the NRA. Well, the GOA came around. I'm like, the GOA sounds better, but I don't know if they have the balls to do anything. Well, they do have the balls to do something. They're fighting for you hardcore for those bump stocks. And it's not just to have bump stocks again, because I've had bump stocks. I've had 2 bump stocks. They're pieces of shit. They're not worth it. But it has nothing to do with bump stocks, and it has everything to do with the ATF thinking that they can redefine what is and what is not a fully automatic machine gun. And somehow, still having to pull that trigger every single time, the bump stock has turned my AR-15 into a fully automatic machine gun, and I will get 10 years in prison if I were to use it or to own it. So even though it's a piece of trash, you cannot redefine what makes a fully automatic machine gun. The definition is one pull the trigger, multiple rounds. Bump stock, you're pulling the trigger every single time. Every single time. So they fought, they won, they're fighting more, they need your help. If you're not a member of the GOA, I would highly encourage you to do so. And if you can donate even more money to them, I would do that as well. Next, all the places that you can follow me, because who knows how long I'm going to be on this channel. So you can follow me on my alternate YouTube account, my Gab, my DLive that I'm currently streaming to right now, Rumble, and Twitter. Other than that, if you want to donate money to this channel, there are ways to do that. Half of that goes to Irish's Rally Point Irish GoFundMe, because I believe in that cause that much, and he's a good friend of mine. And I think that's all the links down below. But if you want to help if you want to help my channel without spending a dime, liking, commenting, subscribing, and the biggest one, sharing it with people that you know. Sharing it with somebody who's going to want to watch this is much better than donating $1. Just saying, it is 100%. When the Anunnaki return, they're after the gold, just like the last time. I don't know how to pronounce that. Anunnaki. You go into the Odyssey? Odyssey? You go into Odyssey. Is Odyssey another platform? Let me check. Hold up. It's hard to keep up with all these new platforms. Odyssey. I don't know. You can make a bump stock with a board and a nail if you're feeling extravagant. You can also do it with your belt loop. It has nothing to do with the bump stock. In fact, the rare breed trigger, The rare, if you wanna scratch that itch, and know and feel what it's like to shoot a gun fully automatic without technically shooting it fully automatic, I would suggest getting a forced reset trigger. I have one. It's a great way to waste a whole bunch of ammunition and money. It's a great way. You can't waste ammunition any faster unless it's full auto. And the force reset trigger, if you don't know what it is, it's not full auto. It's one pull of the trigger, one shot. However, when you pull that trigger, it has a dongle, and that dongle makes the trigger reset automatically. So you don't have to let go of the trigger. The trigger, resets itself. So you just keep holding back. And in my opinion, that is a stockless bump stock. And a billion times better than the bump stock ever was. I have one. They had some more in stock, and I tell you what, I was a little bit tempted, but they're $400 after tax and shipping and all that, or whatever that is. It was $400. And I just can't. I just can't. I have a 3D printer. If I want to scratch an itch, I can scratch an itch. I'm not doing it, by the way, anybody listening, I'm not doing it, but if I wanted to, I could, and I'm just not going to. Because I have a force reset trigger and not nearly enough ammunition for it. They are working on live streaming right now. Nice. Can you drop got a link. Sweet. Thanks, Riddle. I'm going to it right now. We'll see. There's a new platform almost every week, and it's really getting hard to keep up, right? And that's why YouTube continues to work. Yes, YouTube is horrible. Yes, I've got to watch what I say. Yes, I got to watch what I do. If I upload a shooting video, I'm going to have to mute all the sounds of the guns in order to get... I don't even get monetized. This channel's not monetized anymore, but if it was monetized, I have reapplied. If I was to get remonetized, that's kind of content I would have to edit thoroughly in order for it to be okay with getting monetized. And I don't like that. I hate it. I absolutely hate having to go through all the hoops that YouTube makes me have to go through. However, it is still the biggest platform on the internet. It is still the place where you, even with their suppression and with all their shadow banning, I would still get more of a reach here than I'm going to get anywhere else. I will sign up for Odyssey. I will look into it. And if it goes somewhere, I'll have an account ready to go. Anyway, that's all I got for you guys. Thank you very much for being a part of tonight's stream and me and Riddle Girl's anniversary. So once again, happy anniversary, Riddle Girl. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Until then, make sure to keep your family close. Watch out for that government. Try to live as free as you can in the tyrannical world we find ourselves living in. And until then, peace be with you. Replace all the gun sounds with rubber duck sounds. Quack, quack, motherfucker.